Talk show hosts used to have a very powerful position in Hollywood. They were supposed to be just famous enough to connect with celebrities and just relatable enough to connect with the millions of viewers around the world. But for many of them, this power got to their head. And in this video, we're going to look at what happens when fans start to see the reality behind their fake persona and the downfall that follows, starting with Ellen. Every public figure at some point has to simplify their entire brand and public perception to a few personality traits. Ellen DeGeneres, for most of her career, could be described as friendly, funny, and altruistic. She infamously branded two very simple words as her mantra to live by: be kind.
When I say be kind to one another, I mean be kind to everyone.
Just be kind.
But the act of being kind also has great benefits. Try to do something kind this week.
But we learned that Ellen made some exceptions to her always be kind rule. Be kind, unless it's her employees who accuse Ellen show producers of mentally abusing and sexually assaulting them. Be kind, unless there's a funny opportunity to humiliate a fan on live television. Be kind, unless she can force a pregnant woman to drink alcohol on television. Be kind, well, because she has to when big brands are donating millions of dollars to her charitable causes. For 40 years, Ellen had the world convinced she was this lovable, genuine figure. She even won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But as time went on, the cracks in the facade began to slowly emerge, and the world finally saw her reality behind the mask. The empire she built in 4 decades came crashing down in less than a year, and to this day, she believes that she is the victim.
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business.
Today we are going to deep dive into the disastrous downfall of Ellen DeGeneres and analyze the warning signs we missed along the way. Ellen had no idea what she wanted to do with her life at the age of 23. She worked various odd jobs out of necessity. She painted houses, worked in factories, worked as a bartender, and even sold vacuum cleaners, but could not find any purpose for her life. That is, until she discovered stand-up comedy.
Have you always wanted to do comedy?
No, I really didn't. Until I got on stage, until I was talked into it, because I didn't want to, do it, until some friends said, we're having a benefit, we need to raise some money, and I don't even know what the benefit was for. It was like, I think somebody needed a new pair of jeans or something at the time. And I went on stage, and I don't even know what I did, but it was funny at the time. I loved it. It was just the greatest feeling, and it just fell in my lap. Everything just kept happening, and so.
Most people who pursue an art form typically have a deep passion for it. Some comedians even see it as survival. They struggle to cope with the stresses and complexities of real life, and comedy is a necessary escape. Ellen lacked passion and was decently funny. This seemed like a pretty good job that was working, so why not keep pursuing it? Ironically, this type of mentality is perfect for someone to move up in the ranks in any industry. When you are not deeply or personally attached to your work or art, you are willing to make the necessary sacrifices for growth. In the perspective of a comedian, some may deny a movie or TV role because it's too corny, too unfunny, or just generally a bad look regardless of the opportunities it will bring and the revenue they will generate from it. Ellen was not that type of person. If there was an opportunity, she was going to take it. In the 1980s, she started performing stand-up comedy in New Orleans and gained a huge boost in popularity when she won Showtime's Funniest Person in America contest in 1982. This national visibility led to her doing stand-up shows around the country. In the 80s, doing a set on Late Night with Johnny Carson or David Letterman was a rite of passage for comedians. It was seen as a major milestone that often led to a professional career in comedy. In 1986, Ellen got her opportunity.
That whole fitness thing runs in my family, though, I think. That my grandmother started walking 5 miles a day when she was 60. She's 97 today, and we don't know where the hell she is. I'm kidding. We know where she is. She's in prison. But, I'm kidding again, I kid a lot because I'm a comedian.
Ellen's style of comedy seemed like someone who was truly indifferent, like she didn't care to be on the stage. This could be perceived as confidence. Someone who is unafraid to fail or tell a bad joke. Combine that with the fact that she was a woman in the 80s, a time where women weren't exactly dominating the comedy industry, and opportunities came pouring in. She played the role of Margot on the 1980s sitcom Open House, and then jumped from there to another ABC sitcom called Laurie Hill, which only lasted 1 season. Her newfound fame earned her an HBO special in 1992 called One Night Stand.
I was in the back and I went to the kitchen to
get some lemonade. And in the kitchen was my dad, my mom, all my brothers and sisters just standing there staring at me, about to start laughing. I was like, what? I was 7, I didn't know. And my dad said, Ellen, honey, you were adopted and we've never liked you, so we've sold you to a tribe of Iroquois Indians. They'll be here to pick you up in about an hour. We're going to go to a movie. Bye-bye. Good luck.
Ellen has this unique, quirky charm that's irresistibly captivating. She doesn't rely on shock humor or hot-button topics. She comfortably and confidently delivers her wacky and obscure thoughts, which earned her respect from fans and other legendary comedians. However, in the 90s, there wasn't much money or longevity in doing stand-up as a full-time job. Most comedians were pursuing jobs on Saturday Night Live or writing for movies. Most successful comedians in the 90s got their notoriety through being the face of a television sitcom. And in 1994, Ellen got her big break when she starred in her own ABC sitcom, Ellen. This show was about a neurotic bookstore owner in her 30s dealing with her quirky friends, family, and the problems of daily life in Los Angeles. Despite her show being a big hit, it was canceled abruptly when she came out as gay. Ellen was planning a historical moment with the Puppy episode, which was a code name to keep its intentions a secret. In the summer of '96, Degeneres opened negotiations with ABC and Disney to have Ellen Morgan, her character, to come out as lesbian during season 4. Word of the secret negotiations leaked, sparking a media frenzy of speculation as to whether or not Ellen was gay and how that would impact her career. Gay activist groups like GLAAD started campaigning in support of her historic moment. The buzz and build-up to this episode permeated throughout the industry. Everyone knew it would be a historic moment. Famous actors were lining up to be in the episode to show support, and the 2-part series saw multiple cameos from very famous celebrities. But the most important cameo was none other than Oprah, who Ellen herself said would give the announcement its legitimacy and would not be treated as a joke. Still, a bomb threat was phoned into the studio during production, and director Gil Junger recalled getting a phone call from someone who told him he was going to hell. 16 days prior to the episode airing, she made the cover of Time magazine, also announcing her coming out. 1 week before the episode, she did an interview with Diane Sawyer where she discussed her sexuality.
I know what it feels like to try to blend in so that everybody else will think you're okay and they won't hurt you. I decided that this was not going to be something that I was going to live the rest of my life being ashamed of.
When the Puppy episode aired on April 30th, 1997, Ellen made history, becoming the first lead character on American television to come out of the closet.
I mean, what is wrong? Why do I have to be so ashamed? I mean, why can't I just say the truth? I mean, be who I am. I'm 35 years old. I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
This episode was the highest rated episode of any show on the network in 1997, drawing an astounding 42 million viewers. The very same day when that episode aired, she did a sit-down interview with Oprah where they discussed in detail the process of her coming out. Despite the historic moment, the show's advertisers were dropping like flies. Chrysler, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, JCPenney, Domino's, Ford, and General Motors all decided to stop advertising on The Ellen Show because of this episode. And after the Puppy episode, Ellen's ratings began to dwindle, and 1 year later, ABC canceled the show. Entertainment Weekly put her on their cover in a similar pose to the iconic Times cover, but this time the caption was, "Yup, she's too gay." Ellen began making public appearances alongside her girlfriend and actress Anne Heche. She was officially free. The couple were seen as trailblazers for LGBTQ rights, which was noble, but it wasn't exactly helping Ellen's career. Ellen's career was on a downward trajectory after coming out. She had ancillary roles in various unpopular films and TV movies. It's unclear if she was being blacklisted by the industry, or if the movies she was cast in were just bad, or if she was just a bad actor. Could have been a little mix of all three. But the only person whose career died harder than Ellen's was her girlfriend's. In the late 90s, Anne Heche was starring in hit after hit every year. Donnie Brasco, Volcano, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Wag the Dog, 6 Days, 7 Nights, among other 90s cult classics. But as Anne began dating Ellen, she seemingly disappeared overnight. Many years later, Heche described her relationship with Ellen, claiming that Ellen wanted her domesticated. isolated, and alone.
What happened was that I was, through the circumstances, shut out from things that I cared about. And in order to make her feel that she was being loved, I would erase those things from my path, such as acting, and replace them with things that I thought would give her a foundation. As we got further and further away from me being able to be in public the way that would please, I began getting further and further away from my friends and my friendships. And one of the things that concerned me very much was that I was beginning to feel shut off and shut down and shut away. And I told Ellen that I needed to have friends. She said she did not want to have a girlfriend that needed that. And that is the day I left.
Shortly after Ann and Ellen broke up, Haish was hospitalized after knocking on the front door of a rural California home, making strange statements to its residents. She appeared shaken and confused. Within a year of breaking up with Ellen, Haish married Coleman LaFoon, a cameraman she met while working on a documentary about Degeneres' return to stand-up comedy. Ann also announced the release of her book, Call Me Crazy. Ellen claimed at the time she was blindsided by all of this. She walked out the door, and I haven't spoken to her since. I don't have the answers. I would love to have them myself. I would ask all of the questions that everyone else wants to ask. I'm left with everybody else, wondering what happened. I don't know. I really don't. I feel betrayed. I have no idea what the book is. I have no idea. Ann's book was not much of an insider to her relationship with Ellen as many suspected, but rather something much more serious and unfortunate. Ann opened up about how her father abused her as a child, which caused her years of mental illness. Haish also said that she feared she would die of AIDS, the disease that killed her father, in 1983. She said, I had a fantasy world that I escaped to. I called my other personality Celestia.
I called my other personality Celestia. I called the other world that I created for myself the fourth dimension. I believed I was from that world. I believed I was from another planet. I think I was insane.
Ann struggled with her mental health publicly for many years after their breakup. She also struggled with substance abuse. At the time, most people sided with Ellen and just said that Ann was the crazy ex-girlfriend. Some people even claim that Ann was blacklisted because of Ellen. But Ann Haish was in 40 movies and had more than 15 regular roles on various episodic series for the rest of her career. She was getting jobs and remaining active, just none of her performances outshined her 90s roles. After the breakup, Ellen released her second major stand-up special, The Beginning, which was symbolic of a restart in her career.
When you are down there, there are times you do not believe you will ever get up again. And it's a scary place, and it's very dark. But I believe that's when you grow the most, when you face your fears. That's when you grow. And so I decided I am going to face every fear I have. I'm going to challenge myself every opportunity I get. People always try to make you feel better. They say, oh, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Okay, great. Now I'm scared of fear. Thank you very much. I also decided to get rid of the need of approval. That is a strong addiction, the need of approval, isn't it? That I'm on the patch right now, actually. It releases small doses of approval until I no longer crave it, and I'm going to rip it off.
However, she seemed to slightly lose that off-the-wall, self-deprecating, and slightly dark humor. Many jokes became metaphors for societal change that resulted in clapter.
Clapter is when you make a really good point and everyone claps, but they're not laughing because what you said wasn't funny. It was just something that you believe.
She had a slight resurgence in 2001 with the launch of her second sitcom, The Ellen Show. Unfortunately, due to low ratings, the show was canceled after just one season. And just when things were looking bleak for Ellen, in 2003, her career drastically changed. She voiced the character of Dory in Pixar's Finding Nemo, which secured $871 million in the worldwide box office, becoming the second highest grossing film of 2003 and holding the record for the best-selling DVD release of all time with over 40 million copies sold. She launched her third comedy special, Here and Now, which is considered by many to be her best comedy special in her catalog. Ellen was a comforting, silly, relatable, and kind comedian. She never punched down. She didn't talk about race, religion, politics, or anything that could be deemed as controversial. There was nothing dark or edgy about her set. It was mostly quirky, relatable humor.
We're lazy. We have buttons doing everything for it. There's no physical activity attached to anything anymore. Even the garage door opener. We used to have to get out of the car and open up the garage door. Now there's a button you push, you know? And the car window. This became too much. I don't want to churn butter. I just want fresh air. We still use that gesture if we want somebody to roll their window down in traffic. We still use that, even though nobody's got it. Because we'd look like idiots if we did this.
Ellen's relentless positivity, family friendliness, and desperation for a consistent career made her the perfect candidate as a talk show host. And on September 8th, 2003, the very first episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show aired.
Well, thank you. It's September 8th. This is our very, very first show, and you are my very first audience.
In the early years of her talk show, Ellen quickly became a breath of fresh air in the daytime talk show space. She played up a persona that is positive, exuberant, and encouraging. During the peak of tabloid culture, cutthroat journalists who were bloodthirsty for some juicy celebrity drama, Ellen offered herself up as a safe space for celebrities to come on and just have a normal chat with a kind woman. Her spontaneous dance moves and playful, upbeat energy made viewers feel, in the words of Robin Williams, you feel like you're with a really brilliant 12-year-old. This unique approach helped Ellen draw an average daily audience of about 2.4 million viewers, launching her into the top 15 talk shows on television. Over her entire tenure as the show's host, she earned 33 Daytime Emmy Awards, including 2 for Outstanding Host and 3 for Outstanding Show. She hosted the 2007 Academy Awards and was peaking in her career. In the words of Oprah, she radiated the kind of peace and satisfaction that comes only when you're living at your highest potential. However, it was at this exact time that the cracks in the facade began to appear. Much like the writers' strikes we saw in 2003, in 2007 the Writers Guild of America were seeking increased residual rates for DVD sales. At the time, Ellen was selling a lot of DVDs. The DVD highlights from her first 3 seasons of The Ellen Show, which were priced at $24.98, has been a top seller at Target. The Guild advocating for higher residuals would mean that Ellen would make less money. Writers are the foundation that Hollywood relies on, especially Ellen. Without writers, she has no scripts, no jokes, no stories. Other talk show hosts like David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Jon Stewart were all supporting the striking members of the Writers Guild and decided to temporarily pause their shows during the strike. Conan O'Brien not only voiced his support but also continued to pay the salaries of his writers while they were on strike.
We are back now, but sadly, we do not have our writers with us. I want to make this clear. I support their cause. These are very talented, very creative people who work extremely hard. I believe what they're asking for is fair.
But not Ellen. Ellen demanded the show must go on, telling her audience there's a writer's strike going on, and here in Los Angeles, it's a huge story. I want to say I love my writers. I love them. In honor of them today, I'm not going to do a monologue. I support them, and I hope that they get everything they're asking for, and I hope it works out soon. In the meantime, people have traveled across the country. They've made plans. They're here. I want to do everything I can to make your trip enjoyable and give you a show. Some people look at this as a positive thing. She has over 100 staff members that would not get paid if she decides to stop the show. Plus, she was also syndicated and could have contractual obligations to keep the show running. However, others see this as counterproductive to a strike. I mean, sure, she says that she supports the people who literally make her show function, but the whole point of a strike is to stop working and for powerful people to stand in solidarity with the strikers to demand change. Because of the Ellen Show continuing, some of her employees began revealing what life is like behind the scenes of the Ellen Show. A former writer for her 2001 sitcom said, "We'd watch her in rehearsals, smiling and winning us over with her charm and comic timing. Then the director would yell cut, her face would fall, and she'd level a glare at the writers. Why do you keep writing these unfunny jokes?" On one hand, you could see her as disingenuous, fake, and rude. On another, you could see this as blunt, harsh, but essential criticism from a boss to her employees. However, this next accusation paints her as a malignant opportunist. Ellen connected with a talented writer on her show, put his jokes into her stand-up act, used his words to fill 2 pages in her book, then promised him a job on her new show. When he met with a low-level producer, they said he didn't have the right experience, and Ellen pretended she couldn't do anything to help. And remember, this was all the way back in 2007. Most people probably didn't know about these accusations, and even if they did, they probably wouldn't have believed them. Ellen was too graceful, too kind. Surely she is exactly the same way off screen. For the next 10 years, Ellen dominated the entertainment industry with no dents in her armor. In 2011, Oprah Winfrey's show officially ended, and it seemed like Ellen would take her spot as the queen of daytime TV. Although Ellen mostly covered entertainment, not much politics or social issues, she seemed to be the second best option to watch after Oprah's stepped down. Additionally, she and Jimmy Fallon were quick to use YouTube as a tool to grow their presence amongst the youth. I would guess the majority of you watching have never watched an episode of The Ellen Show in your life, but you have seen countless clips of the segments uploaded to her YouTube in the past decade. She amassed 23 billion views on YouTube through her celebrity interviews, musical performances, and talented guests. In the 2010s, if anyone went viral, they would be on Ellen the next week, no matter how boring or uninteresting their story was. Nearly every single one of these interviews would end with Ellen giving them some sort of gift, like when she gave the Damn Daniel kid a lifetime supply of Vans sneakers, or when she gave Mary Catherine Backstrom, a woman who went viral on Facebook for a funny video, $20,000. Now, some people only think that she's giving away this money because the brands are sponsoring the show and essentially using this charitable contribution as an ad. This was extremely evident the time she had a college student on her show who had been donating blood for 6 months just to pay for a computer, buttered her up to announce that Shutterfly was going to pay her tuition, only for her producer to say that's not the case.
Wow, that's a lot of college. It's a lot. Yeah. And your story is very sweet. And so I talked to my friends at Shutterfly. I'm sorry. We're going to give you a computer.
If I had the kind of money Ellen has, I would have said, well, I made a mistake. Shutterfly isn't going to help pay your tuition, but I absolutely will. Then again, this is just one mishap amongst literally thousands of charitable contributions Ellen has made throughout her career. It has been a large part of what makes her so loved. Ellen supports people and families who are facing difficult times, or those she feels need to be recognized for their good deeds and hard work for their communities. After the devastating Hurricane Harvey in 2017 that tragically took the lives of 107 people, Ellen, Walmart, donated $1 million to J.J. Watt's relief fund for the victims. Walmart and Ellen also gave all of these girls 4-year full-ride scholarships to university.
We've never done anything this big before. We reached out to the people at Walmart, and they want to give each one of you a 4-year scholarship.
Ellen and Shutterfly gave $22,000 to pay the student debt of a Sudan refugee who taught herself English by watching Ellen. She was also very passionate about wildlife conservation.
I am determined to do something about this. I am posting this picture on Instagram. If you're as outraged as I am, please repost it, retweet it with the hashtag #BeKindToElephants. And for everyone who does, we'll make a donation to the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust to help protect elephants. And if you're not...
Degeneres created an anti-bullying PSA called Be Kind, which raised money for organizations dedicated to anti-bullying efforts, such as the Trevor Project and Pacer Center. This was the origin story to her entire Be Kind mantra. Nearly every single episode for over 3,000 episodes, Ellen has used her platform to accomplish a seemingly endless list of charitable contributions, and her motivation to do so was often summarized by a simple 2-word mantra: be kind. But in 2019, after 15 years of dominance, we would slowly find out that Ellen wasn't exactly the beacon of kindness we thought she was. In December of 2018, the New York Times published an article titled, "Ellen is not as nice as you think." The subject of the interview was about Ellen's return to stand-up comedy, as she just announced the release of a Netflix comedy special called Relatable.
A few years ago, I started ending my show by saying, be kind to one another. But here's the downside. I can never do anything unkind, ever. I shouldn't even have a horn in my car. Like, if someone cuts me off in a dangerous way, if I honk, they're like, Ellen?
Now, the journalist who was writing this piece was doing the interview at Ellen's house. As they were chatting, they brought up the idea that Ellen has to be kind all the time. To which Ellen's wife Portia walks over and says to Ellen about the interviewer, "Just remember, the nicer they are, the more they are going to screw you." The interviewer was taken aback since she had no bad intentions about her interview with Ellen. However, she did ask about the tabloid stories featuring anonymous complaints that Ellen isn't always kind to those she works with. Ellen said, "That bugs me if someone is saying that because it's an outright lie. The first day I said, the one thing I want is everyone here to be happy and proud of where they work. And if not, don't work here. No one is going to raise their voice or not be grateful. That's the rule to this day." Ellen did not realize it then, but this exact quote would validate all of the claims that were about to come out against her, creating a toxic company culture behind the scenes of her show. But none of her staff had the confidence to come out and share Ellen's secrets. That is, until the public opinion about Ellen's supposed genuine persona started to drastically change. And one of the major factors in that shifting public opinion was in her 2019 interview with actress Dakota Johnson. In the interview, Ellen jokingly accused Dakota for not inviting her to her 30th birthday party. This interview is so passive-aggressive. Narcissists don't like it when you call them out. Now, some people felt this could have been a pre-rehearsed conversation exaggerated for the sake of comedy, as many daytime talk show celebrity interviews are pre-rehearsed and calculated. However, other people on Reddit and Twitter, as well as mainstream publications, began resurfacing old interview segments that seemed to challenge Ellen's kind reputation, like her 2013 interview with Taylor Swift, where she continuously pestered her about the men that she has been dating.
Very happy. You were here with your boyfriend Zac Efron last time. How's he doing?
We actually never dated.
Yes, you did. So when you probably talked to him earlier today, how's he doing?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while because we didn't date.
Yes, you did. Why do you deny it?
Because we didn't.
Oh, okay. Which song is about Zac on the new CD?
There's nothing really about Zac on the CD because we didn't date.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Taylor was visibly uncomfortable but continued to laugh off Ellen's pushiness, until they played a game where Taylor had to tell the audience which men on the screen she dated and wrote her songs about, before she screamed at Ellen to stop.
Makes me feel so bad about myself.
Another old interview with Mariah Carey resurfaced where Ellen put her in a similar uncomfortable and inescapable situation. In 2008, rumors had been circulating that Mariah Carey was pregnant, but nothing was official. So during their sit-down, Ellen brought up the topic to try to get an exclusive bit of information.
You're pregnant. There's rumors.
Don't discuss that.
All right, well, you don't have to answer.
No, that's okay. No, honestly,
you don't have to answer me. Let's just toast with champagne and decide
but
if...
they've been saying that since we...
Mariah didn't want to discuss it, but Ellen wouldn't let up.
I'm not going to ask you if you're pregnant or not. I'm
peer pressure. You see what Ellen is doing? This is peer pressure.
No. Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we should.
My goodness.
Mariah is now in an awful situation. Either she drinks the alcohol while pregnant, or turns down the drink, essentially proving that she is pregnant.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
It's too early for me. I only drink it after 3 p.m.
Yeah. You're pregnant.
Mariah pretended to drink the alcohol, which essentially forced her to make the announcement that she was pregnant. What makes this even worse is that just weeks later, Mariah Carey had to announce her tragic miscarriage to the media following her Ellen moment. Carey confirmed that she was pregnant at the time of the interview, but miscarried soon after. "I wasn't ready to tell anyone because I had a miscarriage. I don't want to throw anyone that's already been thrown under any proverbial bus, but I didn't enjoy that moment." But it wasn't just celebrities. Ordinary people and audience members were often put in extremely uncomfortable and awkward situations. Like on one episode when Ellen set up a free merchandise table for her audience members. Each person was instructed to take just one item to test how honest her audience was. Well, one woman, Nancy, took a mug, walked away, then returned to the table to take a pin and a shot glass, and Ellen played the footage in front of the entire audience. Ellen was very low and petty for doing this. In March, comedian Kevin T. Porter started a Twitter thread saying, "Right now we all need a little kindness. You know, like Ellen DeGeneres always talks about. She's also notoriously one of the meanest people alive. Respond to this with the most insane stories you've heard about Ellen being mean, and I'll match everyone with a $2 donation to the LA Food Bank." And while this Twitter thread was flooded with hearsay, rumors, blind items, stories that just couldn't be substantiated with any facts, Danielle Acevedo's story stood out amongst the rest. "When I was 15, The Ellen Show was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom. With the suspicion that Ellen is this sadistic, evil narcissist who masks her reality with the be kind mantra, shocking allegations came to light about the harsh reality behind the scenes of working at her show. That be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for show. I know they give money to people and help them out, but it's for show." In 2020, BuzzFeed News reported on the experiences of 10 former employees who described the behind the scenes of the beloved daytime show to have a culture of fear and intimidation. A black woman who used to work on the show told BuzzFeed News she experienced racist comments, actions, and multiple microaggressions. She said when she was hired, a senior level producer told her and another black employee, "Oh wow, you both have box braids. I hope we don't get you confused." And at a work party, she said one of the main writers told her, "I'm sorry, I only know the names of white people who work here." And other coworkers awkwardly laughed it off, instead of coming to her defense. When she started to speak up about the discrimination, she said all of her colleagues distanced themselves from her. Multiple employees corroborated that producers and executives pushed the idea that employees should feel lucky to be employed by Ellen, that working for her is reaching the peak of the entertainment industry. And if you didn't constantly express your utmost gratitude, you were ignored, treated unfairly, or fired. And thinking back to that 2018 quote that Ellen said, "You know, no one is going to raise their voice or not be grateful. That's the rule to this day," seemingly validated the idea that there was a culture of fear. I never felt like it was safe to go to my manager when I had issues, because this was the same person who would wait for me to go to the bathroom and then message me, asking me where I was and why I wasn't at my desk, one employee said. The employees who spoke to BuzzFeed News says they worked in a culture dominated by fear. One of them said a general feeling among staffers was, if you have an issue, don't even think about bringing it up. Another ex-employee, Hannah Muscat, who was employed in 2003 and 2004, told Insider what it was like to work on the show.
"We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't, go into her office." It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
She specifically pointed out Ed Glavin, the show's producer, as being the guy who does Ellen's dirty work.
We were in our production meetings and she would watch Ed go off on people. Ellen would look at Ed and she would laugh, because I was hoping she was going to say, "Ed, you can't be yelling at crew this way. You can't be yelling at people this way." She laughed and she said, "Every production needs their dog."
Meaning
Ed is her dog.
Like her attack dog.
Her attack dog, so therefore she doesn't need to do that. He took the role of being the attack dog, that she didn't have to now be the attack dog, so she didn't have to yell.
So when Ellen says she's not aware of this environment, you don't think that rings true?
It's a lie.
Even more allegations poured out about Ed Glavin, but it was a little more than just toxicity. BuzzFeed released a second report where 36 employees accused executive producers Ed Glavin and Kevin Lehman of sexual misconduct. 5 former employees said executive producer Ed Glavin touched them in a way that made them feel uncomfortable by rubbing their shoulders and back, as well as placing his hand around their lower waist. Basically, Glavin had a reputation for being handsy with women. You could definitely see the creep factor and the creepy touching. That was out in the open for everybody to see. One former employee who said Glavin regularly touched her in the control room told BuzzFeed News, "Obviously nobody wants that and no one wants to be uncomfortably touched by someone, but you didn't want to piss them off or you would be fired, so it was just that culture of fear." And if that wasn't bad enough, Kevin Lehman, the head writer and executive producer of The Ellen Show, was allegedly even worse. One ex-employee said Kevin Lehman asked him if he could give him a hand or perform oral in a bathroom at a company party in 2013. Another said they separately saw Lehman grab a production assistant's penis and saw Lehman grope a production assistant in a car and kiss his neck. Nearly a dozen former employees, who range from longtime senior level employees to production assistants, said it was common for Lehman to make sexually explicit comments in the office, like pointing out male colleagues' bulges in their crotches, or ask them questions like, "Are you a top or a bottom?" It's masked in sarcasm, but it's not sarcasm, one former employee said. Many of his targets were lower level and younger employees who felt they lacked any power to speak up. He'd probably do it in front of 10 people and they'd laugh because it's just Kevin being Kevin. After all this came to light, Kevin decided to make a statement for himself saying, "I started at The Ellen Show as a PA more than 17 years ago and have devoted my career to my work my way to the position I now hold. While my job as a head writer is to come up with jokes, and during that process we can occasionally push the envelope, I'm horrified that some of my attempts at humor may have caused offense." Warner Media, who owns The Ellen Show, decided to take matters into their own hands and perform an internal investigation. But some question the validity of these investigations. A former Warner Brothers employee who worked with The Ellen Show said the company turns a blind eye to the alleged misconduct because the series is a cash cow. This controversy was right in the middle of the pandemic. People were stuck inside, angry at the countless list of problems that were going on in their cities and countries. So Ellen being exposed as evil was shocking, but equally interesting, and the entire world was tuned in. It's rare you see someone with a flawless reputation, someone who has been given the Presidential Medal of Freedom, have their entire reputation be unmasked as a facade. Tons of Ellen's celebrity friends came to her defense. Katy Perry, Diane Keaton, Ashton Kutcher, Jay Leno, Kevin Hart, and Kris Jenner all took to social media to say, "I stand with Ellen," or praise her for being kind, honest, and courageous. But many people didn't really care how Ellen treated her rich celebrity friends, as it was her hardworking employees that were the ones being allegedly abused behind the scenes. Ellen's first public acknowledgement of the controversy came from a letter to her staff, which was later shared with the media. In that she writes, "My name is on the show and everything we do, and I take responsibility for that. Alongside Warner Bros, we immediately began an internal investigation and we are taking steps together to correct the issues. As we've grown exponentially, I've not been able to stay on top of everything and relied on others to do their jobs as they knew I'd want them done. Clearly, some didn't. That will now change, and I'm committed to ensuring this does not happen again." A few days later, she would post a direct apology to the rest of the world.
"I am so sad, and I am so angry, and I know I'm not going to say the right thing. I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in disagreement with what I say, but I have a platform and I have a voice, and I have always stood for equality. I have always wanted to be the voice for people who felt like they didn't have a voice, because I know what that feels like. And maybe you don't agree with how it's coming out, but you have to understand it, and then we can heal it. I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than this has gone on way, 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 way too long. People have gotten away with murder, and that's what's happening."
Now, this is not a clear, concise, or direct admission of wrongdoing. People were upset with her choice of words, as she said, "Sorry, it has come to this." Additionally, using idioms like "get away with murder" in a weird way downplays the situation, because she recognizes something horrible is happening under her command, but does not specifically say what it is. But she is being vague for legal reasons. After Warner finished their internal investigation, 3 senior executive producers, Ed Glavin, Kevin Lehman, and co-executive producer Jonathan Norman, were all fired. Although they never admitted that any misconduct actually occurred, firing them was seemingly a strategic attempt to save face. They were never sued, tried, or found guilty of committing any crimes. Every new season of The Ellen Show opens with a monologue. The one opening season 18 contained yet another apology.
Let's get to it. As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show.
Everything about this is so manipulative. The outfit, the tone, the jokes, the speech. I don't like apologies that include "if I hurt you," "if I offended you," if is not taking responsibility. But things got even worse for Ellen. In May of 2021, she announced that she would be ending the Ellen DeGeneres show after its 19th season. This came after months of speculation about whether the show could even survive the controversy and the declining viewership, which dropped by over 40%. In her announcement, Ellen framed her decision as a creative choice, saying that after 19 years, the show was no longer a challenge for her. She denied that the ending of the show was due to the drastic drop in viewership.
The ratings are down for this show. They're down for every talk show.
Right.
To be fair.
Yep.
But more for this one. Mm-hmm. Does that factor into any of this decision?
It's more for this one because we had further to fall. And everybody else was at a lower, place, so they didn't have as far to fall. To be honest, I mean, that's the truth. We were very, very successful.
Ellen also claimed that she was a victim when announcing the ending of her show.
And also, I have to say, if nobody else is saying it, it was really interesting because I'm a woman, and it did feel very misogynistic. It felt like I am a boss. I have a very successful show. I'd never had any complaints about anything for 17 years, and all of a sudden, all at once, something happened. So it did feel, it was...
Sexist?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did feel weird.
These passive-aggressive comments seem to contradict her previous sentiments of, I take responsibility for everything. It seems as if she tried to approach this controversy the right way, or the smart way, by taking accountability, firing those who were accused, and she just kind of hoped that things would go back to normal. But then her show's viewership declined drastically to the point where it only made sense to cancel the show. And anyone would be upset if they had to cancel their show. And it's easy to understand that after 19 seasons, it's pretty upsetting for the show to go down like that. Seems like Ellen is kind of bitter. Kind of upset. Maybe she kind of feels like she is the victim. But those feelings only worsen the believed narrative that she's a narcissist and her whole persona was faked for money and success. Every public figure at some point has to homogenize their entire brand and perception to a few personality traits. For Ellen, it was altruism and kindness. When you simplify your brand and persona, you become more reliable, more dependable. Kind of like a robot who does exactly what you are supposed to do and exactly what people expect you to do. The Ellen Show formula was exactly the same. Had the same tempo, the same energy, the same positivity, for over 3,000 episodes. The reason there was so much backlash towards Ellen was not because people suddenly found out she was actually mean behind the scenes. It's because her entire existence was centered around caring for other humans, giving back to those in need, listening to people's hardships, and then using her resources to provide help for them. And then the employees who worked for and built this amazing program that Ellen has generated hundreds of millions of dollars from, they were being mistreated, not listened to, and potentially at worst sexually assaulted. Therefore, her opposers felt that that was an obvious sign that her entire persona was all just a facade for money, whereas others think that the employees could be over-exaggerating. The accused were never found guilty of any crimes, and working on a major TV production is going to be hectic, stressful, with expectations for a high performance. Plus, when the allegations came up, she seemingly handled it as professionally as possible. She did an investigation, fired the 3 accused producers, and established new protocols that would make sure that everyone on the staff would be treated with respect. She seemingly took responsibility and made the changes. What more can she do? They say that even if Ellen's persona is fake, her good deeds and charitable contributions are still a net positive for society, regardless of the intentions behind them. After her show officially ended, Ellen had remained silent for the past few years. However, tomorrow, September 24th, she's releasing her final comedy special, For Your Approval, on Netflix. And doesn't that name sound a little bitter? For Your Approval? When announcing the special on Instagram, she wrote in the caption, "To answer the questions everyone is asking me, yes, I'm going to talk about it."
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business. Yeah, the Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. Here's the problem. I'm a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go f*** yourselves,
Ellen claimed she was a victim of the cancel culture mob, when in reality, her downfall was entirely from her own actions. But she wasn't the only talk show host who created a toxic work environment. Jimmy Fallon was exposed for doing the same thing, which was extremely shocking considering the nice and friendly image he had. There's an undeniable sincerity that emanates from Jimmy Fallon. He's not just a talk show host, he's a friend you've known for years, inviting you into his world with open arms. Since his late night debut in 2009, Jimmy has almost unanimously been loved by fans and celebrities, but not anymore. The people closest to Jimmy, the ones he relies on the most, have come forward to reveal that his actual character behind the scenes is the total opposite of lovable and genuine. Erratic behavior, outbursts, intimidation, avoid eye contact. Nobody told Jimmy no. These quotes don't sound like the unapologetically joyful Tonight Show host we know, but these revelations might not be shocking to some. As many people have speculated, Jimmy's nice guy persona is entirely fake. More specifically, his fake laugh.
You can't say
Jimmy,
oh my God.
Jimmy will laugh at just about everything, to the point where he sounds like a programmed laugh track being controlled by a producer backstage.
If you think about embarrassment, scale of 1 to 10,
Okay.
1 is just like being a person walking down the street,
Mhm.
and 10 is, for me, co-hosting the Oscars with James Franco.
Without letting Anne mention why this was embarrassing, Jimmy just bursts out into laughter when there was nothing funny about what she said.
And then he tries to connect my my right foot to my left arm, and he's trying to connect them like this, and I'm in such pain. I go like that, and his belly goes in my mouth.
Even Ryan Gosling looked at Jimmy confused as to why he was laughing so hard. They both play it off awkwardly because they quickly realize this is harmless and it only makes them look better or funnier. There's no point in calling him out, but Taylor Swift wasn't having it.
The VMAs are coming up August 24th, and they're saying, I heard that Taylor Swift will be performing. Can you confirm or deny?
I mean, we've had a really good time today.
Taylor?
Taylor? No, see where I'm going with this at least. Nobody ever listens to me.
Oh my
Finish a
gosh.
thought.
Oh my God.
So what I was saying is
You're not even looking at me.
because I'm trying to think of what to say next.
If he isn't interrupting them with laughter, he is interrupting them with other pointless talking. Taylor Swift's frustration was a little more obvious than David Spade's.
Carson wasn't even the first one, but I squeaked on. You did stand up. When I did, I'll tell the story. When
David just gave him a little jab, and Jimmy knew he was wrong for interrupting the comedian, so he tried to make Dave look like the bad guy and walk off. This wasn't the first time Jimmy walked off set to avoid an awkward situation that he caused.
No, it's about how you can beat a human being down to...
Don't tell anyone. It's okay. Let them
Just see the movie.
Or not.
Or not. You know what the movie's about, kind of, right? Yeah, so you don't need me. You don't need
No,
me.
do it. It was
you
nice.
don't need
You
me.
do it.
No one
You should do it.
needs
No.
me. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's go.
No, come back. Come on, man.
This is a safe way to play off his awkward interruptions because no host would ever walk off their own show for a tiny error. Often it seems like Jimmy has nothing substantial to add to the conversation but feels the need to interrupt or explode with laughter. The internet has memed Jimmy's antics into oblivion. While some say he has a huge ego and wants more spotlight for himself, it seems like he does this to maintain control. He fears dead air, a boring story, or an unfunny joke, so he jabs his way into the conversations with quick jokes or laughs in an attempt to make sure the audience is engaged, but then it ends up doing the opposite. I mean, every time a guest is talking, he leans in, stares at them intensely, maybe reaches his arm out, and is waiting for a split second to interrupt to make sure you are entertained. The other thing that agitates people is how he showers every single guest with compliments. You're my favorite, we love you, it's my favorite movie, my favorite album, as if celebrities need any more ego stroking. Jimmy's defenders think all this controversy is ridiculous. Should he not laugh? Just sit there and be awkward? His show is supposed to be fun. He just wants his guests to be relaxed and confident in front of a live audience. This can definitely explain his overreactions to guests winning his minigames.
Sounds like a poodle.
Yeah.
A labradoodle.
Now, it seems ridiculous to nitpick this from Jimmy because fake reactions have been a crucial part of TV and YouTube forever. David Dobrik, KSI, and Joe Rogan have been large contributors to the fake laughter, fake reaction epidemic.
Okay, and if you think there is, it's very like, I know everything. I kind of do agree with a lot of what he says.
Jimmy is a people pleaser and just wants to make everyone comfortable, bless his heart. That laugh does the opposite to me. It feels like he's hiding something. And Jimmy may be hiding something, a lifetime of alcoholism. And the reason he began drinking may shock you. As a teenager, Jimmy was obsessed with Saturday Night Live. The program had been running for nearly 2 decades, and Jimmy was fully immersed, insisting on watching the program alone in pure silence because he hated unnecessary commentary from others. Although he could only see the clean parts his parents taped for him, Jimmy didn't miss a single sketch or punchline and remained devoted to learning as much as possible. Ironically, his parents didn't want him watching adult humor sketches, but they would let him drink alcohol while watching. As long as I wasn't doing anything at night, I'd just sit by myself and I would have a 6-pack of Pabst. I don't know if I made it all the way through the 6, but I'd just sit there and watch the show and tape it. He and his sister Gloria reenacted sketches with friends before Jimmy discovered a talent for impressions, often impersonating actor James Cagney and comedian Dana Carvey. I was one of those kids who, if I hung around another kid for an hour, I was that kid. Fallon said, it was weird. I'd come home and I'd do his type of humor, his type of mannerisms, and my mom would say, okay Joey, you want dinner now? Because I'd be acting like Joey Gonzalez. From a young age, Jimmy was an imitator, instinctively copying and mimicking things that he thought were funny instead of having the drive to produce his own material, which was an early sign of being the perfect late-night television host. Through hours of meticulously studying various comedy and musical routines, Fallon continued working on his craft and established himself as a performer at Saugerties High School, appearing in most stage productions. It was a rush. I think it was the rush of getting a reaction. Maybe it's acceptance. Maybe it's a thing where you're pleasing somebody. I want to be friends with everybody. And if you make a joke and everyone laughs, you're like, that's it, I scored. That's what I thought making a friend was. You just feel like people liked you. So maybe it was that, acceptance. It seems like Jimmy's people-pleaser mentality has been in full effect since his youth. His obsession with Saturday Night Live carried on throughout his time at St. Rose College in New York, skipping parties and events so that he could watch SNL as it aired. Fallon lived for the weekends when he would regularly board buses from his aunt's house in Fort Hamilton to perform stand-up comedy sets at Caroline's on Broadway and Times Square. On stage is where Jimmy felt most at home, and his urge to make audiences laugh couldn't be ignored as he dropped out of college in 1995 to move to Los Angeles, California to pursue comedy full-time. He secured a manager who got him very minor roles in comedy films like Father's Day and television sitcoms like Spin City, but it didn't matter because his dream wasn't to become an actor. Jimmy remained fixated on joining Saturday Night Live. After 2 years of working on his sketch comedy and improv skills with the Groundlings, he took a leap of faith and auditioned for SNL, but bombed. This career setback could have killed his dreams as a comedian altogether, but his obsession with SNL wouldn't let him give up. When he landed a small role on a Warner Brothers sitcom, Fallon negotiated a clause in his contract that would release him if he got on SNL. The producers agreed only because they thought it would never happen. This was my ultimate goal. If I ever cut into a birthday cake and made a wish, I would wish to be on SNL. If I threw a coin into a fountain, I would wish to be on SNL. If I saw a shooting star, I would wish to be on SNL. It's crazy. I had no other plan. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have anything going on. I had my career. That was it. SNL is notorious for its difficult audition stage. The series creator, Lorne Michaels, almost never laughed during auditions, and it would take a special talent to grab his attention. Fallon recalls 3 different people warning him about Lorne's lack of laughter, but he learned a lot from his first catastrophic performance, and his second audition, he would come prepared with nothing but himself and his impressions, something that he perfected over time. Jimmy marched on that stage, performing a celebrity walkathon with impressions of Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Bill Cosby, and Adam Sandler. To his surprise, Michaels and other executives could not stop laughing. I was in the room that day, says former SNL writer Tina Fey. He's one of 2 people I've ever seen who was completely ready to be on the show. Kristen Wiig is the other one. And Jimmy was ready like if there had been a show to do that night. Lorne Michaels informed Jimmy that his dreams were now a reality. He was going to be a cast member of Saturday Night Live. All Jimmy could do was look at Michaels and tell him, "I'm going to make you proud." He debuted beside the cast of SNL as a featured player during its 24th season in September 1998. Fallon established himself as a household name overnight, becoming known for his spot-on impressions of various celebrities and public figures. While he was living out his dream, Jimmy was also developing a scary addiction that would come back to haunt him decades later. During their time at SNL, Fallon and cast member Horatio Sanz often drank together. Sanz has described himself and Fallon as super-functioning alcoholics, and stated, "That kind of goes hand in hand with SNL. Some kind of substance abuse issues because it's so stressful you could easily find yourself blowing off steam a lot." Sanz recounted how he and Fallon got in a couple of brawls. "I've seen Jimmy clock a few people," he said. "Jimmy could fight. I don't know where he learned, but he definitely scrapped with the best of them." Jimmy working in a high-stress environment and abusing his health to cope is potential foreshadowing for the work environment he would create on his own show. He always planned to leave Saturday Night Live after 3 seasons. However, Lorne Michaels offered him a role on Weekend Update with Tina Fey, which is essentially the comedic news section that SNL covers every week. Unfortunately, Jimmy also developed a negative reputation on SNL as somebody who can't hold in his laughter. At first, it was an innocent mistake that began in the famous More Cowbell sketch, when Will Ferrell wore a tight shirt that caused Fallon to break character. Every cast member was laughing during this skit because, well, it was hilarious. But that moment opened a revolving door of cast members intentionally trying to get Jimmy to break character, and he did break character. A lot. Interrupting the punchlines and comedic timing by laughing and giggling. While some thought it was hilarious, others found it insensitive and believed he was attempting to steal their spotlight and make the sketches about himself. Lorne didn't like it. The writers didn't like it. I'm not trying to do it on purpose. I'm trying not to do it. But sometimes it just got insane. I couldn't hold it in. It was just so much fun. SNL has always tried to maintain the best of the best when it comes to comedic talent. Comedians laughing at their own jokes can sometimes be seen as unprofessional. In 2004, Jimmy decided to leave SNL and move into traditional acting. He signed a 2-movie deal with 20th Century Fox with the hopes of becoming a prominent star in the industry. The first was a lead role in the 2004 action comedy Taxi alongside then rapper turned actor Queen Latifah. The other was the 2005 romantic comedy Fever Pitch alongside Drew Barrymore. Both films received mixed reviews and had decent box office performance, but were not the first impression Jimmy Fallon wanted. With back-to-back disappointments, film offers rapidly decreased as studio executives grew hesitant to feature Fallon in future projects. He experienced what he has deemed a lost period, characterized by a larger than usual alcohol consumption and uncertainty about his future career choices. "I was probably drinking more than I should have been drinking," he confessed. "It wasn't like sitting and watching old tapes of me on SNL with the screen flickering in front of me. I was like, I can't figure out what I want to do." Fortunately for Fallon, the man who gave him his dream job at SNL was about to save him once again, as the host of Late Night had an opening in 2009 after Conan O'Brien was transitioning to The Tonight Show. But Jimmy didn't make the best first impression. Many quickly realized that Jimmy wasn't edgy or dark enough for late night comedy. GQ claimed Jimmy was too cute for late night audiences used to hanging out with the snarky, cool crowd, suggesting he was too corny. "Yeah, the cool crowd was always beyond my grasp," he admitted. Late Night with Jimmy Fallon premiered on NBC in early March 2009. The series immediately outperformed CBS's The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson by 500,000 viewers. Fallon also garnered more viewers than his predecessor, Conan O'Brien. Late Night with Jimmy Fallon was one of the first late-night talk shows to embrace social media and use it as an integral part of the show's engagement with its audience. Jimmy was able to connect with the youth who weren't watching TV at midnight in 2012 by regular uploads to YouTube, particularly comedic sketches and challenges with their favorite celebrities.
I got these tickets to the One Direction concert.
Ew, I love One Direction. Do you have an extra ticket?
Yeah.
Many of these videos amassed millions of views, but it was nothing compared to the dominance he would have on The Tonight Show. In early 2014, Jimmy Fallon transitioned to NBC's The Tonight Show, where he had big shoes to fill. From Steve Allen to Jack Parr to the iconic Johnny Carson, who stamped the show's legacy for 30 years, then Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien, it was now Jimmy's job to lead the most popular late-night show of all time. He debuted to a staggering 11.3 million viewers, and despite all the alleged fake laughing, overreactions, interruptions, and being too corny, he dominated late-night television. The show averaged 3 to 4 million live concurrent viewers throughout the years, but also embraced social media with their YouTube channel that has amassed 30 million subscribers. With multiple videos and the hundreds of millions of views, a lot of Jimmy's segments mimic the format of YouTube challenges. Many of you have never even watched Late Night, but have seen tons of The Tonight Show's YouTube segments, such as Lip Sync Battle, Musical Impressions, and Egg Russian Roulette, where he and his guests would engage in playful competitions resulting in funny and often viral moments. His comedic sketches and style often mimicked SNL because of his obsession and Lorne Michaels' production. Jimmy is like the personification of a golden retriever, and America loved him. And although the late night host is a high profile and often rewarding role, the pressure can be severe. Late night hosts are expected to be funny and entertaining every night. The constant pressure to deliver humor can be mentally and emotionally taxing. Late night hosts must stay up to date with current events and pop culture trends to keep their material relevant, which requires continuous research and adaptability. The aspect of balancing multiple roles can also be demanding, as late night hosts are not just comedians, they are also producers, writers, and often performers in various sketches and segments. Coming up with fresh and original content night after night can be creatively exhausting, as hosts must continually innovate to keep their shows interesting. Meanwhile, late night shows are often live or recorded in front of a live audience. This leaves little room for mistakes, and hosts must be prepared to handle unexpected situations. Therefore, late night hosts are very much reliant on their staff to help with research, writing jokes and sketches, making sure there are as little errors as possible. These writers and employees are Jimmy's lifeline. There is no show without them, and he made a crucial error on May 1st, 2023.
I wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for my writers, and I support them all the way. They got to have a fair contract, and they got a lot of stuff to iron out, and hopefully they get it done.
If there is a strike, do you go dark?
If there's a strike, yeah, I think we will. Yeah, I think we'll go dark. Whatever I can do to support the guild. I am actually in the Writers Guild as well, so. Yeah, I couldn't do the show without them, and I support my whole staff.
Although Jimmy says he will support his writers no matter what, his staff says otherwise. As one of his employees took to Twitter to write, "He wasn't even at the meeting this morning to tell us we won't get paid after this week. Jimmy Fallon, please support your staff. Had fun bowling with you last week, but a party won't pay my rent." I'm sure many of you have heard about the 5-month-long writers' strike in Hollywood that just ended, and the reason for the strike is quite simple. The Writers Guild of America is the joint efforts of 2 different American labor unions representing thousands of writers in film, television, radio, and online media. Writers are the backbone of Jimmy Fallon and all of Hollywood's content. Without them, there are no jokes, no scripts, no stories, nothing. Yet somehow, they are the least compensated, with most of them earning below the poverty line in salary. Writers make a bulk of their earnings through residuals, which is a percentage that gets paid out to them every time a movie or show is streamed or syndicated in the future. But Hollywood executives restructured the industry during the streaming era, so these writers get basically nothing after the content is uploaded. And the studios are profiting tens of billions, while the people who are actually creating the ideas from scratch are on food stamps. So Jimmy saying he supports his staff no matter what, but not increasing their salaries to a livable wage, had them pretty pissed off, which led to a Rolling Stone article that contacted over 50 Tonight Show employees revealing what Jimmy is really like behind the scenes. Although many praised Fallon for his immense talent and comedic gifts, nobody spoke on record or had positive things to say about working on The Tonight Show. Interestingly enough, 3 employees who originally worked on Late Night claim a dramatic and ugly shift in working environment occurred once they transitioned to The Tonight Show. People that worked under them felt this pressure that if you made one mistake, you were gone and would be easily replaced. From 2014 to 2022, there were 9 different showrunners. This constant change in leadership gradually created a chaotic atmosphere among staffers who expressed their loss in faith in senior leadership. Nobody told Jimmy no. Everybody walked on eggshells, especially showrunners. Another former employee says, "You never know what Jimmy you were going to get, and when he was going to throw a hissy fit." They described Jimmy's temperament, mood, and treatment of staffers as erratic. They suggested Jimmy Fallon was unpredictable, having witnessed him snap at crew members over the smallest things. They also claimed Fallon occasionally berated and belittled staffers out of frustration. 3 former employees said that he berated them in front of other colleagues and crew members. It was like, if Jimmy's in a bad mood, everyone's day is fucked. When something was wrong, we all knew how to behave afterwards, which was just sort of avoid eye contact and don't make another mistake. The article then dives into Jimmy's SNL skit in 2000 where he did an impression of Chris Rock while doing blackface. Jimmy apologized for this skit that resurfaced in 2020, and the article followed up this information with an employee alleging that the staff tried to sweep this controversy under the rug. A black employee claims that showrunner Granite Benderman kept asking them, "What is going on with your hair?" trying to paint the picture of a racist environment behind the scenes at The Tonight Show. Employees claim that they experienced deteriorating health effects due to the environment, hair thinning, extreme weight loss. Mentally, I was in the lowest place of my life. I didn't want to live anymore. One longtime employee says they never reported their issues to HR because early on in their tenure at the show, they saw colleagues of theirs attempt to speak to human resources representatives and subsequently got fired from the show. They don't protect us, the former staffer says. They don't do anything for us. Many of you watching have probably worked in a toxic environment and have experienced similar ramifications as these employees alleged, so you can easily see this being a reality for Jimmy's show. Others speculated that this is nothing more than a hit piece. Many think that Jimmy's short temper, erratic behavior, and need for nothing less than perfection is standard for someone putting on a show for millions and millions of people. They think most of the worst allegations are against the showrunners, and Jimmy has to take the blame since he is the boss. Most people wonder why someone wouldn't just get a new job if it was so bad. Then again, Jimmy did come from SNL, which was one of the most high-stress work environments that led to multiple employees suffering from substance abuse issues. So it's not that hard to believe that he could have created a similar environment thinking it's just show business. However, after Rolling Stone published the article, Fallon apologized to staff members in a Zoom call. "It's embarrassing, and I feel so bad," Fallon said, according to two people who were on the call. "Sorry if I embarrassed you and your family and friends. I feel so bad I can't even tell you." And since Jimmy and Ellen had massive public controversies that destroyed their image, Oprah Winfrey tried much harder to prevent the public from discovering what she was hiding. Oprah Winfrey was not friends with Jeffrey Epstein. She never went to a Diddy party, and somehow throughout every controversy she ever faced over her 40-year career, it was merely just a misunderstanding and she was completely innocent of any wrongdoing. Well, that's the official narrative. Whether she was platforming horrific offenders, exploiting victims for content, diverting attention away from Harvey Weinstein's crimes, starting a school in South Africa for young girls who ended up being abused by the employees, or her terrible Hawaii charity, the official narrative is always that Oprah was just trying to do the right thing and, unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But for some reason, if you scour across the internet, you will find that so many people think the billionaire is shady, hiding something, or potentially evil, which is the polar opposite of the mainstream opinion that she is a deeply empathetic woman who is extremely charitable with her money. So today we're going to deep dive into Oprah Winfrey's career and the controversies that kept getting reframed as misunderstandings, because at a certain point, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Oprah became both the youngest person and the first black woman to anchor the news at Nashville's WTVF TV at age 19. By 1984, she relocated to Chicago to host WLS TV's morning program, AM Chicago. And this was around the time that the industry started to realize the potential Oprah had. AM Chicago became the city's #1 daytime talk show within a month, surpassing broadcasting legends like Donahue.
Everybody loves Oprah.
You mean me?
She's fun, she's hip, she's really got her style.
Say that a little louder, please.
Less than a year later, AM Chicago expanded to a full hour and was rebranded as The Oprah Winfrey Show, which entered national syndication in 1986 and became television's highest rated talk show. Oprah knew how to excite a crowd or those watching at home, but she could also calm down and talk deeply and intimately about serious topics. She'd embrace the guest with her warm energy and give them her full undivided attention, like her interview with Connie Francis where she discussed surviving sexual assault.
Everybody who has ever had to face it, and that's why it's so good that you're on here, because you think, I have problems? My goodness. Because you are such a superstar and have survived such traumatic things in your lives, if you could do it, then people feel like they can too.
But beyond celebrities, Oprah would interview ordinary people about issues that were not widely discussed on television. One particular episode revolved around normal couples who struggled with infertility problems. Some other similar topics were women who snoop on their husbands, the complicated dynamics dynamics between mothers and daughters, and even women who were involved in the usage or distribution of cocaine. Oprah's style of discussion felt natural and honest. Millions of viewers at home could relate to these testimonies, watching people on television describe experiences that they had gone through themselves. However, not everyone was exactly celebrating Oprah's newfound popularity. This article from 1988 is technically complimenting her, but it reads like they are insulting her. Few would have bet on Oprah Winfrey's swift rise to host of the most popular talk show on TV. In a field dominated by white males, she is a black woman of ample bulk, usually over 190 pounds, though she has lost 24 of them since starting a medically supervised all-liquid diet 3 weeks ago. What she lacks in journalistic toughness, however, she makes up in plain-spoken curiosity, robust humor, and above all, empathy. Oprah faced prejudice about her race, weight, and lack of formal education. She came off as a regular person just trying to relate to regular people. But beyond the prejudice, there were also real criticisms about how Oprah approached these topics. Her show focused more on how stories felt, rather than breaking them down in any kind of expert or academic way. Oprah wasn't bringing on specialists who could accurately explain why these people were in the situations that they were, but to be fair, many of the topics didn't really demand that level of analysis. These were everyday problems discussed by everyday people. But something interesting started to happen. Simply by hosting these conversations and validating people's stories, Oprah herself started to be viewed as someone to trust in a broad range of subjects, even though she wasn't presenting any research, expert consensus, or long-term data. Her authority got even stronger when she used herself as an experiment for extreme weight loss, and it launched her into mainstream fame. Oprah went on a 4-month-long medically supervised fast program called OptiFast, where she bragged about not eating any food for the entire duration. OptiFast is considered a supplemental fast, meaning that the patients subsist on high-protein, vitamin-packed powder mixed with water. The formula is taken 5 times a day to substitute for eating. Total daily caloric intake is 420. Oprah went from 212 pounds to 145 pounds in 4 months, and to celebrate her new body, she brought out a wagon of disgusting fat that represented the amount that she had lost.
At the time, I felt it was important to show it in that way because I'd starved. I'd literally starved for 4 months or 4.5 months.
The fat loss episode in particular caught the eyes of 62 million viewers. During a period when everyone watched TV exclusively, this stunt almost got as much attention as the Super Bowl that same year. This was dangerous because it made an extreme, tightly controlled medical program look like a simple starvation diet, and the 62 million viewers who watched didn't have the doctors or financial means to attempt this safely. By Oprah celebrating the results without emphasizing the risks, the message became dangerously simple. This worked for me, so it could work for you. And suddenly, one supervised fast gave Oprah the perception as an expert in nutrition. She started making diet plans, and dangerous foods a recurring theme on her show, which would eventually get her into some major legal trouble down the road. But by 1988, Oprah was on top of the world. She founded Harpo Studios, becoming the 3rd woman in American entertainment history to own her own studio. She now had more potential than any other talk show host or any other media personality in history. She had massive ambitions, and it quickly became clear that she was willing to do anything to get to the top, pushing boundaries of what daytime television could get away with, like when she brought on a gang of white supremacists on her show to discuss their worldview.
I just heard what you said. You just said, I don't sit with monkeys. You think because she's black, because I'm black, we're monkeys? Is that?
That's a proven fact.
A bunch of low IQ racists came on Oprah to spread hate, and she did very little to push back or challenge what they were saying. The very moment that the white supremacists left the show, Oprah realized that she had platformed a very dangerous group of individuals, and she swore to never do it again.
When they left, I made a decision that I would no longer allow the platform that I had to be misused by people who were carrying any form of negative energy that could create more negative energy in the world. That what I thought I had been doing was allowing people to see how violent, how abusive, how not smart they were, that I was actually doing the opposite.
But this wasn't exactly the truth. Oprah continued to platform people with dangerous ideologies, and things got dark quickly. Winfrey slowly stepped away from logical, ordinary discussions and entertained more sensationalism. One of her most successful series was about a phenomenon called the Satanic Panic. satanic. It was a wave of moral panic that swept across the nation, as many Americans believed that secret satanic cults were abusing children, performing rituals, and infiltrating schools, daycares, and communities. For Oprah, it looked like she saw this as a great opportunity, regularly platforming anyone who made claims of experiencing satanic worship.
My next guest was used also in worshiping the devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals, cannibalism. What kinds of things went on in the family?
Babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to,
Babies.
There were people who bred babies in their family.
Despite lacking verifiable evidence, stories about supernatural or dark spirits kept viewers glued to the screen. The country's strong Christian values at the time helped fuel the hysteria, and the satanic panic became the modern version of the Salem witch trials. Some pastors even believed threats came from movies and video games. Heavy metal and hard rock bands like Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, and Judas Priest were accused of pushing Satanism through their lyrics and dark imagery. In 1989, Michelle Smith, co-author of Michelle Remembers, appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show alongside Laurel Rose Wilson, another publicized victim of satanic cults. Her claims appeared in the 1988 book Satan's Underground, where she detailed extreme graphic stories of supposed occult torture. However, her claims were debunked after investigators found that none of her claims of satanic ritual abuse could be verified. In her book, Wilson described being forced into cult ceremonies, but reporters discovered that the key events were impossible. She wasn't living with abusive Satanists, but in foster care. No police or medical records matched Wilson's stories, and the people she named as perpetrators had alibis or no connections to her at all. Simply put, her book was all hearsay, but Oprah had her on anyway. Similarly, Smith's Michelle Remembers was debunked through basic fact-checking. Journalists found that a lot of the dramatic events Michelle described, like month-long rituals, car accidents, and hospitalizations, had no records or evidence. And despite both of these books being entirely made up, almost closer to science fiction, both women's experiences were presented by Winfrey as incontrovertible fact, and not once did she question the authenticity of any claim in either book. But Oprah did not stop there. She brought on a young boy named Duffy Strode, whose family was being chased out of town for stirring up fear in Marion, North Carolina.
Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me.
In your own word, tell us, what does that mean?
I mean, it's just what it says.
While it might have made for engaging television, there was something seriously wrong about putting a very young child on stage to defend his beliefs to a crowd of angry spectators. It's pretty clear this young boy doesn't fully understand what's going on. He almost seems kind of hypnotized. And remember, this is pre-social media. It's not like the boy was already amplifying his voice and getting millions of views on everyone's phones around the world. Oprah gave them a national platform, and she presented herself as the voice of reason, but also refused to keep her audience calm and under control. She knew the chaos made for great TV. And yes, people were critical of Oprah at the time, but it didn't matter. She owned the show, she was the boss, and as long as the network was making money, they didn't care. By the early 90s, a genre now called trash TV was emerging. The media started moving towards more sensational stories or controversial topics with shows like The Jerry Springer Show, The Jenny Jones Show, and Maury. Hosts would bring on random people with unknown backgrounds to share their issues, like unwanted pregnancies, stolen inheritance, or damaged property. The goal always seemed to make the situation so emotionally explosive that the guests and audience members would literally start fighting each other. And I'd be lying if I said this wasn't entertaining. But the key difference was that these shows were unapologetically chaotic. The spectacle was the point, and everyone involved understood that going in. Oprah was supposed to be facilitating meaningful discussions, but she tried to balance that fine line between sensationalism and legitimate topics, and she honestly did a great job at it. In 1990, she interviewed a murderer and bank robber in prison who had multiple personality disorder. In 1991, she brought on mothers and stepmothers to argue over who deserves what authority in the child's life.
My first guest, Patty, calls her kids stepmom, the bitch. She's here with her daughter, Tina. Tina claims that she loves both of them. Tina's stepmother, Sharon Saylor, says Patty is jealous because of the close relationship that she has with Tina.
In 92, she brought on gay people who were fired from their jobs for being homosexual, and then brought on employers to defend their decision to fire gay employees.
Employment is a right that we have as an employer to whether we hire or fire somebody. By the same reason that I would not knowingly hire a homosexual, neither would I knowingly hire a prostitute or someone who is a gigolo or someone who is a womanizer, because I think I have that right to project a certain image for my company.
In '93, she had a segment called Why White Men Fear Black Men, where white men express their views on racism to other black men's faces.
I don't feel that the white race, I mean, how long can we continue to be guilty? Wrongs were done. It's a shame. There are wrongs presently. But how long can you play on the same thing? Something happened 20 or 30 years ago.
And to her credit, she seemed to do a good job at creating these fair environments, where individuals with varying opinions can all get a chance to voice them, leaving the audience to decide what to believe. However, she did not give that same grace to celebrities, because in Hollywood, celebrities are expected to surrender their privacy as a part of the job. Their relationships, trauma, addictions, and mistakes are all treated as fair game for someone like Oprah to poke and prod at. Plus, the audience believed that just by being on the show that they had signed up to be interrogated. One of the most awkward interviews Oprah ever had on her show was with Michael Jackson, where she continuously asked questions about his trauma that he grew increasingly uncomfortable answering.
I had pimples so badly, and my father teased me, and I just hated it. I cried every day.
Your father would tease you about your pimples?
He would tell me I'm ugly.
What's your relationship like with him?
I love my father, but I don't know him.
Are you angry with him for doing that?
Sometimes I do get angry, yes. I don't know him the way I'd like to know him.
But this was Michael's first televised interview in 14 years, so she was not going to miss out on her opportunity.
So he would tease you, make fun of you?
Yes.
Did he ever beat you?
Yes.
And why would he beat you?
I guess maybe, I don't know if I was his golden child or whatever it was. He was very strict, very hard, and just a look would scare you.
Were you scared of him?
Very. There's been times when he'd come to see me and I would get sick.
Really?
I'd start to regurgitate.
Oprah went question by question, bringing up every ridiculous rumor that was ever spread about him, from the allegations that he had bleached his skin, to plastic surgery, to his sexuality and his history with relationships.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
With Brooke Shields?
Yes, and another girl.
It's embarrassing for me to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you a virgin?
How could you ask me that question?
I just want to know. I want to know.
I'm a gentleman. It's something that's private. I mean, shouldn't be spoken about openly. You can call me old-fashioned if you want, but to me that's very personal.
So you're not going to answer it?
I'm embarrassed.
So you're not going to answer it.
Oprah's a rude person. She really thinks she's entitled to get an answer. Michael responds with class. She didn't deserve it. Oprah has no boundaries. Asking celebrities unrehearsed questions put her in total control. The famous guests knew that if they reacted normally and pushed back, Oprah's massive audience might turn against them and ruin their reputation. And because of this, every visit to the Oprah Winfrey Show was a bit of a gamble. They know talking with Oprah would be a big promotional tool for their career, but they could easily be caught in a trap where they might be forced to reveal personal secrets. Like when Oprah interviewed Broadway legend Nathan Lane and asked about his sexual orientation. But luckily, Robin Williams saved him.
Taking that role and being like typecast and people forever saying, are you not? Is he, honey? I don't know.
Girl, you changed just in the middle of that sentence. Don't make me come out there.
I don't think Oprah was trying to out me, but I said to Robin beforehand, I'm not prepared. I'm so scared of going out there and talking to Oprah. I'm not prepared to discuss, that I'm gay on national television. I'm not ready. And then, of course, she was like, how come you're so good at that girly stuff? And then Robin sort of swoops in and diverts Oprah goes off on a tangent and protects me because he was a saint.
Oprah tried as hard as she could to get some sort of juicy gossip or headline from Prince, but he knew what she was doing and wouldn't give in.
Have you ever perceived yourself as being weird in any way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand everything's relative, not weird to me.
And you're living in Minneapolis, of all places.
Minneapolis, yeah. I will always live in Minneapolis.
You will always live here? Why?
It's so cold, it keeps the bad people out.
Some people even think that he was low-key dissing her by saying it keeps the bad people away, since she was clearly hating on Minneapolis for some reason. Oprah also turned her sit-down with Toni Braxton into a straight-up interrogation about her finances and lifestyle, shaming her in front of the entire world.
B-R-O-K-E broke?
Broke.
Like broke?
No money.
No money. Like net worth what?
Negative.
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 She has filed for bankruptcy.
She's so freaking mean to me. I was in shock.
Do you take responsibility for the situation that you're in right now?
100%. I couldn't believe it because I loved her so much. I admired her and looked up to her. And she pretty much reprimanded me.
I read that you were upset about stories that your overspending caused this.
She says to me, I hear you have Gucci flatware. I'm Oprah Winfrey and I don't have Gucci flatware.
First of all, I didn't know Gucci made silverware.
Oprah even asked a very young Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen about rumors regarding their weight. She wasn't satisfied with the 17-year-old twins' response and decided to dig deeper.
There's a new rumor that's recently surfaced. Has really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating.
People are going to write what they want to write. Either you're too fat, you're too skinny, and people are just going to write what they
What size are you, by the way?
Size.
Yeah, I always like to know.
Really short.
And as the years went on, Oprah's empathy felt more like a tool to extract as much information and emotion as she could out of her guests. A great example of this would be her interview with Kelsey Grammer. In a short span of time, his grandfather died of cancer, his father was murdered, his brother died in a scuba diving accident, and his younger sister was abducted, violated, and left for dead. If anyone needed a gentle interview, this was the guy. However, Oprah seemed like it wasn't enough for him to share his story. It was like she wanted him to relive it all over again.
When my sister died, 2 years...
You say my sister died. Your sister was brutally and murdered, which is a little different than just dying. You still miss her, I can see. Do you ever get over it?
No.
Why does she keep saying brutally murdered? I mean, geez, he knows that. He doesn't need to be reminded of it like that. But besides her fake empathy, Oprah had another secret weapon, and that was that she could alter or edit any interview if it didn't go her way. Rapper Ludacris claims that she used her power to manipulate their conversation before the public ever saw it. But first, you have to understand that Oprah simply does not like hip-hop.
I've been known for not being a big fan of rap music because of misogynist lyric and because of the use of the N-word. You obviously feel differently. A little bit. A little bit.
Therefore, her coverage of rappers and conversations with rappers should be viewed through a different lens, considering Oprah is extremely biased against them. But when Oprah had Ludacris on her show to promote his new movie Crash, she interrogated him as a rapper, even though he was there as an actor.
I was there for Crash, for the movie.
Yeah.
And basically she said something about not agreeing with my music, but she thought I did great in the movie. And of course I was up there with the whole cast of Crash.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't necessarily feel like that needed to be said. You know, you didn't agree with my music. And even if you don't agree with certain songs I made, say you don't agree with certain songs, don't say you just don't agree with all of my music.
Right.
So it was a lot of comments that actually basically she was able to say what she said, and then I had my rebuttal. And when I saw the final show, her comments were in there.
Right, was in there, but yours wasn't in there.
And mine weren't in there, so it just looked like I kind of took it.
Wow.
Like it was just quiet.
On one hand, Oprah offered something almost no one else could, a platform to millions of people. But she was the gatekeeper. You were stepping into her world under her rules, and when one person controls the questions, the framing, and the final edit, you were powerless. And with Oprah being the biggest show on television, making fun of her was one way that Mad TV's Deborah Wilson connected with some of Oprah's critics.
Today's show is about grieving.
Damn it! That's okay, girlfriend. I'm just gonna smile and think about the money. All right, let's make the loss of a loved one fun! Woo! Okay, here we go. Oh, yes. Come to mama. Who the hell is that on the monitor? Is that Cedric the Entertainer?
No, Oprah, that's you.
Oh, girlfriend, look, I had a rough weekend, okay? I gained over 180 pounds. I told you to tape me only with the thinning camera.
Now you could think that this was done in poor taste, but others felt that Oprah had profited enough off others' trauma, and it was only a balancing act that she had some coming her way. Like this, The Roof. Her show drew 12 to 13 million viewers on an average weekday, so of course she wasn't going to change. In fact, she was doubling down, because she was arguably the most powerful person in television. In 1996, Winfrey began Oprah's Book Club, an on-air club designed to get the country excited about reading. After she would promote a book, they would start selling millions of copies. In 1997, she launched Oprah's Angel Network, a charity that raised more than $80 million from her viewers around the world. Winfrey also co-founded Oxygen Media LLC with Geraldine Laybourne, someone whose name was on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet log. Oxygen was a lifestyle and entertainment programming oriented towards women. And in '98, The Onion published a piece that exaggerated Oprah's influence to an absurd degree, but only because so many people already recognized the pattern. They took fake quotes from Oprah fans that said, "What book should I read? What low-fat lemon bread recipes should I use? What made-for-TV movies should I watch to give me a sense of empowerment?" asked Pamela Kolb. In these complex times, it can be frightening to have to go 3 weeks without any guidance from a television personality, but we must remain true to Oprah's vision. Our duty is to stay focused and on full alert until new orders are issued. But this doesn't really feel like an exaggeration. Oprah had a cult-like fan base of middle-aged moms all across the world, and because of that, she needed more content to supply her growing demand of emotional shock daytime TV. Her production company was looking to introduce another half self-help, half shock value show, kind of the classier cousin to Maury or Jerry Springer, and the perfect man for that was TV psychologist Dr. Phil. In the late 90s, Oprah was facing a massive lawsuit brought on by the Texas Beef Group. They started building a case after Oprah Winfrey aired an episode on her show called Degeneres Foods. She invited Howard Lyman, a cattle rancher turned vegetarian, onto her show to discuss controversial practices within the beef industry, including a process now banned in the US called rendering, which involves turning cow organs into feed for other cattle. She said because of this conversation, she would not eat another hamburger, and she had the type of influence where millions of people would just blindly listen to whatever she said. Beef prices went spiraling down after the episode, reaching a 10-year low, and the American beef industry felt that she defamed the entire industry. In the middle of her courtroom battle with Texas cattlemen, Oprah turned to Phil McGraw's trial consulting firm, Courtroom Sciences Inc. With the help of Phil, Oprah won the case and came out on top.
I just want to thank everybody who supported that idea and the idea of free speech. I believe I'm one of those people who probably just took it for granted, but that will never be so again.
And although this case was weak to begin with, it was a wake-up call for Oprah. For years, she had relied on empathy and personal testimony without always challenging claims or bringing in opposing experts. This lawsuit made it clear that platforming anyone with a strong opinion on national television in front of millions of people without having experts properly challenge them can have real consequences. Which is why it was perfect timing that she met Dr. Phil, because he was about to change Oprah's life forever. While people think of doctorate psychologists and therapists as helping with past trauma, Dr. Phil wasn't technically that kind of doctor. He helped prepare people like Oprah for trials, telling them how to speak and present themselves to look less guilty. He also assisted lawyers in jury selection, reading their statements and behavior before deciding whether or not to remove them from the jury. Phil earned a weekly segment on Oprah's show, because if you think about it, he was the ultimate asset to her. Dr. Phil's presence fundamentally changed how Oprah's conversations were received. For years, Oprah had been leading deep emotional discussions about family conflict, trauma, and personal responsibility, and Dr. Phil gave those same discussions a stamp of authority. Because he was introduced as an expert psychologist, his agreement with Oprah's instincts validated her. Dr. Phil reinforced the idea that Oprah wasn't just hosting these conversations, she was guiding people towards the truth. But the best part of Phil's addition to the Oprah Winfrey Show is that he also became a regular joke on Mad TV.
Thank you, Oprah, for creating the Dr. Phil Show. For without it, I would truly be somewhere in Texas, sitting in a trailer, drinking excessively, and touching my private parts while watching Mexican soap operas.
However, actual therapists became really concerned when McGraw's popularity led to Oprah's production company creating his very own syndicated talk show, Dr. Phil, where people with deep personal or family problems came on stage to discuss their situation in front of a live audience. When his show aired in 2002, it had the biggest debut ratings of any new talk show since Oprah Winfrey in 1986, and it would remain in the top 2 daytime talk shows for more than a decade, meaning Oprah now owned the 2 biggest daytime talk shows in the world, and at the same time she officially became a self-made billionaire. And despite the show's popularity, Phil McGraw has long been the most controversial mental health expert on TV. Professionals have criticized Dr. Phil's style of advice, describing it as overly simplistic, sometimes harmful, and not a substitute for licensed therapy. To make matters worse, Phil might have earned a PhD in clinical psychology, but he is no longer a licensed clinical psychologist and hasn't hasn't been since 2006. He stopped renewing his license after his TV career started to take off, but he didn't stop giving what appeared to be professional advice. After the show's peak, multiple former and current staffers alleged that the workplace fostered verbal abuse, fear, intimidation, and racism, and some claimed that guests were manipulated or treated unethically. The situation didn't get any better when it came to Phil's reputation for handling troubled adolescents. He has faced several allegations after referring children struggling with behavioral issues to Turnabout Ranch, a Utah-based residential treatment program. The facility has long faced allegations of sexual, physical, and psychological abuse. One former Dr. Phil guest filed a lawsuit claiming that age 17, she was assaulted by a staff member at the ranch. After reporting the assault, the victim alleges she was punished with forced labor in freezing conditions, forced to sleep on a wooden plank, and subjected to other degrading treatment. Even Danielle Bergoli, or Bad Baby, publicly described harsh conditions during her stay, including limited showers, being prevented from sleeping or lying down for days, and deprivation of basic comforts or privacy. Dr. Phil has avoided addressing these allegations and continues to recommend the facility, all while Oprah Winfrey's production company has been funding and profiting from this show. But Dr. Phil isn't the only controversial figure Oprah has brought on to legitimize her brand. As her weight fluctuated throughout the years, she was always experimenting with diets and wanting the newest information about nutrition. Ever since her liquid diet and fat wagon stunt, a lot of her audience would tune in to see her transformations following a period of weight gain or weight loss. That's when Oprah introduced Dr. Oz. Later, this decision to work together made many people believe it was just a scheme to sell meaningless products, while Oprah got filthy rich. In 2003, Oprah herself appeared as a guest on his show, Second Opinion with Dr. Oz, and the two hit it off immediately, leading to Oz becoming a regular health expert on the world's most watched talk show. Just like Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz was technically an actual doctor. In fact, he actually appeared to have better credentials than Phil and a real reason for being platformed. He got his MD from the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine in 1986. He completed a residency in general surgery and went on to become a cardiothoracic surgeon specializing in heart surgery. Over the years, he made more than 60 appearances on Oprah's show, covering topics ranging from heart disease, cholesterol, and blood pressure to preventative care. He also frequently offered sound dietary guidance, weight management tips, and insights into the health impacts of various foods. For a lot of fans, Dr. Oz was the perfect televised physician because he explained things in a very simple and understandable way.
Let's start with what should be in your refrigerator, all right? Go.
Antioxidants.
Antioxidants.
What is an antioxidant? This apple was cut in half, and you'll notice this has turned brown, and this one hasn't because we took a little bit of lemon juice and sprinkled it on top.
So the lemon was like the antioxidant to the apple?
Exactly. Same thing happens to our skin, to our heart, to our eyes, all of our bodies.
Oprah presented Oz to her multi-million member audience as a miracle healer, capable of saving lives with his wealth of knowledge and love of fitness.
Okay, Dr. Oz, turn around here. On that wall, these are just some of the people who told us that something they heard you say on the show saved their lives. And a few of those grateful viewers wanted to be here today. So come on out, Catherine, Sandra, Brad, Karen, and Shay.
Which is why in 2009, Dr. Oz got his own show co-produced by Oprah's company. And unlike other celebrity doctors, Oz was originally known for being against supplements and scams, often being praised for a more affordable approach to helping you lose weight.
Today at 4 on an all-new Dr. Oz, America's hidden health scandal. The supplements you have been taking may not be as safe as you think. Dr. Oz is uncovering the truth about the potential dangers in some of those supplements.
Unfortunately, this would change as the money started rolling in. His program slowly became more of an infomercial, promoting products rather than talking about practical solutions, like this green coffee bean extract that he marketed as a miracle in a bottle.
You may think magic is make-believe, but this little bean has scientists saying they found the magic weight loss cure for every body type. It's green coffee beans, and when turned into a supplement, this miracle pill can burn fat fast for anyone who wants to lose weight.
But this turned out to be completely false. The study that was often cited to support green coffee beans' miracle effect was later retracted due to flawed data. Years later, a senator publicly criticized Oz for using his show to market supplements, questioning why he would label them as miracles.
When you call a product a miracle and it's something you can buy and it's something that gives people false hope, I just don't understand why you need to go there.
My job, I feel, on the show is to be a cheerleader for the audience. And when they don't think they have hope, when they don't think they can make it happen, I want to look for any evidence that might
be supportive to them.
Do you believe there's a magic weight loss cure out there?
If you're selling something because it's magical, no. If you're arguing that it's going to be like magic because if you stop eating carbohydrates, you're going to lose a lot of weight, that's a truthful statement. You may not agree with the flowery use of the word magic, but it is true that most people cutting out simple carbs will lose weight.
And while Dr. Oz was selling magical supplements to lose weight and help fight cancer, Oprah continued her own crusade for alternative healing methods, often without much evidence to really back the claims, especially when Oprah introduced a man who called himself John of God. Unlike Dr. Oz, John claimed to be a Brazilian healer and spiritual medium, able to heal the spirit and the body at the same time. For decades, visitors would wait in long lines to meet him at the Casa de Loyola in Brazil. When their turn finally came, John would look at them briefly, often without asking questions, and pronounce the spirit of a deceased doctor or healer that was working through him that day. And of course, when people's trauma or pain did not go away, they weren't exactly convinced of his supernatural abilities.
This is who they flock to. He calls himself John of God, but his real name is John Faria, a man who claims miracles. But what happens here is much less divine intervention than downright exploitation. And did you feel anything at all after you had been in this man's presence?
No, nothing.
Any logical person would look at this as nothing more than a grift. Others might see this as the early foundations of a cult. But on November 17, 2010, Suzanne Casey wrote in Oprah's O magazine about her trip to see him in Brazil. After the death of her father, Casey wondered if John of God could help heal her grief. The article was called Leap of Faith, Meet John of God, and it was covered on the Oprah Winfrey Show. If that wasn't strange enough, Oprah even visited the healer on Oprah's next chapter, traveling to Brazil to meet him in person. And once again, due to Oprah's massive platform of millions of people who will just listen to whatever she says, his appearances across her programs helped his healing center gain international attention, drawing thousands of visitors who trusted Oprah's coverage. However, it turns out John was exploiting his authority to abuse vulnerable patients. More than 200 complaints poured in from 9 Brazilian states and 2 from overseas, and as a result, John of God had no other option but to surrender himself to the authorities. The number of sexual abuse allegations against him grew to nearly 600 women between 1986 and 2017. Now, on one hand, it's highly likely that Oprah had no idea that John of God was an absolute monster. She probably read the article and just believed that her team had done a thorough investigation before giving it the green light. On the other hand, I think you've now noticed the pattern of Oprah platforming very dangerous people. You'd think that after experiencing so many of these scandals, Oprah would be cautious of who she endorsed by bringing on her show. But at this point, Oprah was simply too big to fail. In 2010, she consistently made the #1 spot on the Forbes list of the most powerful celebrities. If she made $77 million in 1 year, it was considered a bad year. And unfortunately, it seemed like the richer she got, the more disconnected she became from reality. Like how she held massive giveaways that ended up costing her own guests a small fortune, or how she decided to tackle poverty and education in Africa only for her program to allegedly traumatize innocent children. Part of what made the Oprah Winfrey Show so famous was its large-scale giveaways to members of the live audience, which only grew her persona as a kind and charitable woman. The segment was called Oprah's Favorite Things, and instead of giving away cheap electronics, Winfrey would give away home renovations, wardrobe makeovers, group therapy retreats, or scholarships that could genuinely change someone's life. And every time, the crowd absolutely lost their minds, something that was often made fun of by comedians.
The most expensive gift ever given away on Oprah's Favorite Things? A DVD handycam valued at over $900!
Everybody here gets humpback whales! You get a humpback whale, and you get a humpback whale!
But in typical Oprah fashion, to keep ratings up, she kept making them bigger and bigger, eventually giving every single person in the audience a brand new car.
All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3. You get a car! You get a car! You get a car!
Oprah later looked back at the car giveaway saying, "That was one of the happiest days of my life. It delights me. It makes me so happy to see other people be happy and to be able to do that. That's one of the great joys of my life." The segment went down as one of the greatest talk show moments in history, inspiring other hosts to attempt large-scale giveaways. However, for some people, being handed a new car was actually a massive liability. While the show covered sales tax and registration for all 267 cars, it didn't pay the gift tax. Audience members were suddenly expected to pay $7,000 depending on their tax bracket. The show's producer said, "It was devastating after because gift tax is a thing, and it's always a complicated thing when you're giving stuff away. But we paid for the sales tax and the registration for each car, and we told the audience after if they didn't want to have to pay a gift tax, they could actually take cash for the car. And because we didn't pay the gift tax, people complained to the press, and that was devastating." Now, of course, being upset with Oprah over this is a little wild. It's a generous gift, and it's even more generous to give people the alternative of just receiving cash. But it was showing a pattern that Oprah was sort of detached from regular people. She didn't appear to understand that just throwing money around doesn't solve problems. In fact, it can actually create more problems. She had to learn this the hard way when she started a school in South Africa, but things got so much darker than she ever could have imagined. Earlier in her career, Oprah met with South African President Nelson Mandela to discuss strategies for addressing poverty. During her stay at the Mandela's home, she expressed her belief that education is key to leveling the playing field and shared her dream to build a school for girls in their country. 5 years later, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened its doors. She poured $40 million into the 28-building campus for poor and disadvantaged girls.
It can be a place of learning as well as living for them. We have to have a theater because this is a school for leaders, and in order to be a leader, you have to have a voice. And to have a voice, you need oration. So the idea for the school came about based on what I felt would be an honor for the African girls.
And all this for free. Free uniforms, free books, free meals. Everything is free at Oprah's school.
Initially, she was criticized for being too extravagant. Critics questioned whether high thread count sheets in the dormitories, a beauty salon, 2 theaters, and a dedicated yoga studio were necessary for an institution serving girls from impoverished communities. However, horrific allegations between 2007 and 2010 made the situation far more serious. A dormitory employee, Virginia Macapo, was arrested on charges including assault, indecent assault, and soliciting underage girls to perform indecent acts. At least 7 victims came forward, and Winfrey was shook to her core about these horrifying statements. She flew down to South Africa immediately. Winfrey, who called herself Mama Bear, praised the girls who reported the abuse. As often is the case, child abuse happens right within the confines of the people you know. I personally spoke to all the girls and encouraged them to come forward over the abuse claims. The girls are receiving counseling. I told the girls that we are going to clean out the school. There is still a lot of potential there, but Oprah may have overcorrected the problem and made the school even worse. After firing a ton of staff and implementing new rules, one parent described the school as now isolating its pupils from society, while others described it more like an abduction, where they sometimes couldn't even see their children. According to some of these parents, the school seemed like a detention camp. Witnesses stated, "We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution. The poor children are not even allowed to have any treats. Their diet is fruit, yogurt, and sandwiches." The previous week, there was a meeting for parents and guardians with the staff, and these issues were not brought up. Once again, Oprah, on her pursuit to make herself look better and extremely charitable, she completely misses the mark of what these mothers actually want. And it's ironic that she called herself Mama Bear to these girls when she really knows nothing about motherhood. She once said, "When people were pressuring me to get married and have children, I knew I was not going to be a person that ever regretted not having them, because I feel like I am a mother to the world's children." Now, being a symbolic parent is not the same as being responsible for a child's day-to-day safety and emotional well-being. Oprah viewed her school as protection and opportunity, and actual mothers viewed it as isolation and control, something that Oprah would have seen if she was an actual parent with a child of her own. Oprah later acknowledged that she might have underestimated underestimated the psychological impact of a strict boarding school. I have made several mistakes, and one of them was being overprotective of the girls, which has led to an impression that the school is isolating them from society. But again, this isn't really an apology. She's just being overprotective because she cares so much. But things were about to get so much worse. The alleged assailant, Virginia McApoe, was formally acquitted of all 14 charges. The magistrate ruled that the testimony from the alleged victims was contradictory and lacked corroboration. McApoe declined to say whether she would forgive Winfrey and the staff of the academy. Oprah responded, "I am profoundly disappointed at the outcome of the trial. I will forever be proud of the 9 girls who testified with the courage and conviction to be heard. There was no justice for the young girls who were assaulted at Oprah's school." Now, if you do a little bit of searching beyond the mainstream news, you will find countless accusations that there are missing children from Oprah's South African school. People have long been trying to connect Oprah's school with Jeffrey Epstein. However, there are no reports of missing children, nor are there any records of her visiting his island. However, her former business partner, Geraldine Laybourne, that they co-founded Oxygen Media together, was found on Epstein's private jet log. And you'll notice that Oprah always has this at the scene of the crime nature to her. She was friendly with Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Diddy, had a school in South Africa where young children were assaulted, plus all of these controversies that we have mentioned before, yet she always came out squeaky clean. It was always just a misunderstanding, and she was just too empathetic or too overprotective and just wanted to do the right thing. Now, a more simple explanation is that this pattern has more to do with her proximity to power. When you're one of the most famous and influential people in the world, the circle you move in is overwhelmingly made up of other wealthy, powerful figures. Being photographed with or professionally connected to people like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, or Diddy may simply reflect the reality of Hollywood and billionaire class networking, which is why Oprah had to set the record straight that she never went to a Diddy party.
I have never been near a Puff party. Never been near. And anybody who knows me knows if there is a party, I'm the first one out.
Right.
I'm the first one out.
But people love salacious stories.
But she was not as clear when it came to denouncing the horrible crimes of Harvey Weinstein. Harvey was a film producer and one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. Beginning in the 1990s and continuing for years, multiple women later testified that Weinstein used his power to coerce encounters, threaten professional retaliation, and sabotage careers when advances were rejected. When those allegations finally became public in 2017, reporting revealed that Weinstein had paid settlements to silence accusers, used private investigators to intimidate women and journalists, and relied on legal agreements to keep victims quiet. More than 80 women accused Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment. 6 women testified, and he was found guilty of third-degree rape and a first-degree criminal sex act. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in 2020. But when Oprah was confronted publicly about Weinstein's actions, she steered the conversation away from him, which was seen by many as her protecting Harvey.
And if we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost this moment. I think this is a moment where no matter what business you work in, there have been women who not only had the disease to please, that's a part of it, but who felt that in order to keep my job, in order to keep my position, in order to keep moving forward, I've got to smile, I've got to look the other way, I got to pretend he didn't say that, I got to pretend he didn't touch me. I think those days are about to be over.
Stop pretending you didn't know. You all knew. World. Harvey looks guilty. Oprah. Let's focus on the late Michael Jackson instead. Oprah Winfrey had spent decades positioning herself as someone unafraid to ask hard questions, even when they made guests uncomfortable. So when the questions finally pointed back at her circle, her response looked strategic. She was close enough to Weinstein that she was photographed kissing him on the cheek. Are we really to believe that she had no idea what he was doing to obtain that power? Maybe he gave her some tips and tricks of the trade. Oprah has slowly become another corrupt American billionaire in the eyes of the public. The empathy that once made her famous has started to come into question. It seems like every time Oprah Winfrey tries to share her money and power with the public, a story will follow exposing her as an opportunist, cosplaying as empathetic just to get everything she ever wanted, especially especially when it came to her response to the natural disaster in Maui, Hawaii. Instead of looking like a generous helping hand, the public only saw her as a corrupt landlord trying to protect her massive empire of stolen land. Oprah's connection to Hawaii began when her longtime trainer turned property manager, Bob Green, suggested she consider buying land there. Bob had been visiting a particular area of Hawaii for 15 years, drawn to its weather, mountains, and ocean views. While searching for the perfect spot, he eventually found it in a remote, upcountry region where most homes sit along moss-covered hillsides overlooking the sea. Bob encouraged Oprah to check out the nearby property that had gone up for sale, and Oprah was quick to frame her purchase as another act of generosity. Referring to Bob, Oprah said he was worried that some developer might swoop up the land and build condos. So instead, Oprah decided to buy it and build up her own private estate. Over the years, Oprah continued to buy massive plots of land all over Maui, and now she owns over 1,000 acres that she more or less keeps for herself. Now, Oprah has received praise for employing native Hawaiians and preserving wildlife, but there was definitely a fair amount of criticism coming from people about how she chose to do it. And that only got worse when the Maui fire became a national tragedy. On August 8th, 2023, a series of devastating wildfires swept across Maui, including Lahaina Upcountry and Kula, becoming the deadliest U.S. wildfire in over a century. Lahaina was impacted the hardest. Dry vegetation, powerful hurricane winds, and downed power and communication lines made the fire spread incredibly fast and made it almost impossible for people to evacuate safely. More than 2,200 buildings were damaged or destroyed, and entire neighborhoods were reduced to ash. The confirmed death toll reached over 100 people. After the wildfires, Oprah and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson launched the People's Fund of Maui, each pledging $5 million to help survivors.
Just click where you see below and send a donation. That money is going to go to one of many residents who have been displaced in Maui. We guarantee.
In this case, the fund that we created with a lot of hard work from a lot of hardworking people who all care about these people of Maui, as Oprah was saying, it is a clean, direct from you directly to their hands, and right away with some real immediacy, because as we're finding, as you guys around the world know, with disasters like this, the number one need is money. In hand.
Now, we can all admit that any amount of money donating to a good cause is a good thing, and we shouldn't shame people for that. And of course, The Rock and Oprah donating $5 million is incredibly generous. But two billionaires giving out the equivalent of pocket change to them, and then asking hardworking Americans to donate instead just kind of felt a little bit like a slap in the face. In response to the unified hatred, The Rock said, "When we first launched the fund, there was some backlash. I get it and I completely understand, and I could have been better, and next time I will be better," noting it's hard to donate when the person asking you for money already has a lot of money. Ultimately, The Rock was able to get away from the story in a handful of days. He was born and raised in Hawaii, so those people didn't feel as much anger towards him. However, Oprah still hasn't been able to live this down. Winfrey told CBS that she was terrorized and vilified online following the announcement of the fund. "I was so excited about it, and then I got up the next morning and I saw all of this vitriol, and I was like, whoa, what happened here?" For the millionth time, Oprah was just trying to do the right thing, and she was excited about it, and she didn't understand why people were so mad at her. And because people were so mad, a handful of conspiracy theories began to spread, alleging that she failed to help the innocents from escaping the chaos on the island. One of the most widespread conspiracies was that she had a secret road that she closed off when the fire spread, even though it technically belonged to another ranch. Additionally, after disasters like this, a very specific conspiracy almost always follows, that wildfires are land grab opportunities for the rich. Once an area is devastated, longtime residents are financially ruined, insurance battles drag on, and rebuilding becomes impossible. Property values crash, and that's when the wealthy outsiders quietly swoop in to buy the land at a fraction of its former cost. To people already angry and grieving, it starts to feel less like recovery and more like a reset designed for the rich. What makes people suspicious about Oprah Winfrey isn't a single accusation. It's a pattern of power, being surrounded by countless controversies, yet somehow never being seen as at fault. For decades, Oprah didn't just participate in media, she controlled it. She owned her voice, her distribution. And if you were on her show, she also owned your voice. There was never a gatekeeper she had to answer to, because she was the gatekeeper. If a controversy surfaced, Oprah didn't wait for the narrative to form. She got in front of it, softened it, and reframed it on her own terms. Now, to her credit, she did teach millions of people how to talk about pain, healing, and growth, but that also became her secret weapon. Her own failures didn't result in accountability. They were just life lessons that she had to go through. Not to mention, she benefited from it every time, platforming countless con artists, a boost in ratings, promoting a dangerous or unproven diet trend, a best-selling book, and more cultural influence. Good friends with Hollywood predators, never asked what she knew about them, and is seen as empathetic for shifting focus on victims. Buys up 1,000 acres in Hawaii, pricing out natives right before a natural disaster, seen as a savior for launching a charity with other people's money. Those victims were just a part of God's plan for Oprah. She was just trying to do the right thing, and her audience believed her every time. And now, she's worth nearly $3 billion. Not because she avoided mistakes, but because she never lost control of the story around them. And like so many people who reach that level of power, we don't need discernible proof that they are bad people. We just can't trust anything that they say. If this is your first time watching, just know that I upload 2-ish hour-long compilation videos about celebrities and pop culture every week, so consider subscribing. And of course, drink water.